Let's do a few practice problems on scrambling. Suppose you have been given a sequence of bits and you've been asked to encode this sequence using bipolar 8-0 substitution. Okay, so remember that we are only going to be doing the substitution when we have 8 consecutive zeros in the data. If we do not have 8 consecutive zeros, we are going to be following regular AMI technique. Okay, so let's get started. At first we have a 1, so we can either put this one on the positive or on the negative using normal AMI technique. So since this is my first one, let me just label the axis. Alright, so since this is my first one, I'm just going to put it on the positive. Alright, then you have a 0 and we don't have 8 consecutive zeros. So for this 0, I'm going to be following normal AMI. So in AMI, 0 just goes on the 0 voltage, right? Then you have a 1 and this one is going to be on the negative since my last one was on the positive, following normal AMI technique. Then we see that we have a couple of zeros. Let's count how many zeros I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. We have 8 zeros in the data, so I have to do my substitution. Alright, so when I'm doing the substitution, I'm going to be consulting this table. Alright, so I have 8 zeros, and the polarity of my last one, which is this one is on the negative, right? So if this one is on the negative, let's see the table. We are going to have to follow this rule, right? If the polarity of the one that appeared before the substitution is on the negative, then my substitution is going to be as follows. It's going to be 0, 0, 0, negative, positive, 0, positive, negative. So let's do it. The first 3 zeros, the first 0 is going to be on the 0, right? The second 0 is also going to be on the 0, and the third 0 is also going to be on the 0. The first 0 is on the 0, the second 0 is also on the 0, the third 0 is also on the 0. Now for the fourth 0, the fourth 0 is going to be on the negative, right? The fourth 0 goes on the negative, the fifth 0 goes on the positive, the sixth 0 goes on 0, right? Then my seventh 0 goes on the positive, then my eighth 0 goes on the negative. Alright, then I'm done with my substitution. Notice over here that when I'm done with my substitution, before the substitution my 1 was on negative, and when I'm done with the substitution the signal is back on the negative. Alright, then you have another one. This is gonna follow regular AMI, so this one is going to go on the positive. Now you have a 0, so this 0 is just going to be on the 0. Then you have another one, and this one is going to be on the negative, following regular AMI technique. Since my last one was on positive, this one's going to be on the negative. And now we are going to encode another sequence of bits, but this time we are going to be using HDB3 to do the substitution. And remember, this technique we are only going to be using when we have 4 consecutive zeros in my data. If I do not have 4 consecutive zeros, I'm just going to be following regular AMI technique. Alright, so let's get started. At first I have a 1, and for this I'm just going to be following regular AMI, so I can put it on the positive or I can put it on the negative, doesn't really matter. So since this is my first one, I just put it on the positive. Alright, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive zeros. Alright, so for this I'm going to have to do my substitution. This is going to be my first substitution. The first thing we are going to do is count the total number of ones between my current substitution and the last substitution, if any. So this is my first substitution, and the number of ones between this substitution, and since there was no last substitution, the total number of ones in between is 1, and 1 is an odd number. Alright, so if I have odd number of ones, I will either encode using 0, 0, 0 negative or 0, 0, 0 positive. It depends on the polarity of my preceding one. So before I encode this 4 consecutive 0, the last one, the one preceding this block, this was on the positive, right? This one is on the positive. That's what I drew. So if it was in the positive, I'm going to use 0, 0, 0 positive. So the first 0 is going to be on the 0, the second 0 is going to be on the 0, the third 0 is going to be on the 0, then my fourth 0 is going to be on the positive, and that ends my first substitution. Then I have a 1, and this one is going to go on the negative, because by the time the substitution ended, the pulse was on the positive. Alright, and then I have a 0. This is going to follow regular AMI, so this is going to go on 0. Then I have a 1, and the last one, which is this one was on the negative, so this one is going to go on the positive. Once again, you have 4 consecutive zeros, so this is going to be my second substitution. So let's count the number of ones between my current substitution and the last substitution that I did. My current substitution is this, and the last substitution was this one. Right, so the total number of 1 in between is, I have 1, 1 and 2 ones. So the total number of ones is 2, and 2 is an even number. Alright, so if I have even number of ones, I will either encode using positive 0, 0 positive or negative 0, 0 negative. It depends on the polarity of the last one. So before I encode these 4 zeros, the last one, which is this one is on the positive, right? So since this is on the positive, I am going to be using negative 0, 0 negative. I'm going to be using this one. Alright, so my first 0 is going to be on the negative. My second 0 is going to be on 0. The third 0 is going to be on 0. The fourth 0 is going to be on the negative, and that's going to end my substitution. Then I get a 1, and this one's going to be on the positive. Then I got a 0, and this is going to go on 0 using regular AMI technique.